Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Dollywall getting killed in the inbox for his ripping of the ESPN folks.
Yeah, but hold it a second. 24 ESPN guys, 23 picked the Oilers. It's more not that they picked the Oilers, it's that 23 out of 24 picked the Oilers.
Yeah, but who did you pick?
Okay, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter
yes,
who I picked. It's about 23 out of 24 guys at ESPN that picked the Oilers, and it was kind of just like, okay, this is an automatic. That's what I meant.
But you did the same.
Doesn't matter. Move on.
All of our guests today are brought to you by Bird's Nest Properties. Bird's Nest Properties, your Vancouver property managers who take care of everything so you don't have to own a rental property. Give the folks at Bird's Nest Properties a call today. 604-260-9955. As Donnie's been saying, a Gretzky and a Jovanovski. Or visit birdsnestproperties.ca. We bring in our next guest. I don't know who he picked before the series.
Oh, I know who he picked.
Our next guest, Thomas Drance
Edmonton
from the Athletic Sportsnet 650. Thomas, how are you, sir?
Doing well. I had Edmonton in 6, so I was alive with my pick until 32.6 seconds remaining last night. But you know, the way I pick series, I always pick the team I think is going to advance to win at home. Right? And then if it's going to be close, I pick it in 6 or 7, right? Home team or road team to win at home. And if it's not going to be close in my mind, I pick it in 4 or 5. And I like to try and pick sweeps because no one ever predicts sweeps. And there always are sweeps. Like, I think it makes sense to at least pick a sweep every playoff. So that's sort of how I go about it. The fact that I picked the Oilers in 6 reflected my opinion that, you know, overall the Oilers had a top gear, and I thought that would matter. But, you know, picking them in 6 was my is the tell in line with all my analysis in advance of the series that, you know, I thought the Canucks had at least a puncher's chance and maybe a little bit better with some pretty important edges. I thought this was going to be close. This has played out to be extremely close. And yet, you know, I sort of look back at this and think about what I was saying about the Oilers. I mean, for me, last night was the first game in which, without question, the Canucks were far and away the better team on form, right? They didn't need the saves. They didn't need hits to the post. They didn't need the Oilers to just get 2 power plays. In fact, the Oilers got 5. And the Canucks were able to significantly outplay them, like to the point where I thought they were pretty unlucky to even need a late dramatic JT Miller game winner to win that game. They should have won by 2 or 3. The only reason they didn't was, you know, a couple of posts and some bad luck in terms of finishing a puck pulled off the goal line. Vancouver was all over them last night. They were far and away the better team. Rick Tocchet's line juggling worked, and what a performance. I mean, that was the best performance of the Canucks playoff run to this point. Easily their best performance in this series, and honestly, I think maybe their most suffocating all-around performance of the season. Their forecheck took over that game. What a night at Rogers Arena.
And, of course, it was a night that we didn't get to watch the game, so it lines up perfectly. You mentioned the line juggling, Thomas. So
you guys might have to stop watching the game.
I know. See, this is the thing.
Yeah. If
we're going to be banned.
Like that when you guys
I did
we're
watch.
honoring Don Taylor every night now. Every game night, Don Taylor gets honored so that the Canucks can play like that.
Let's do it.
You mentioned the line juggling, Thomas. All this talk going into the game, Elias Pettersson. So last night, he definitely had, some people said best game of the playoffs. Definitely, I'd say best game of the series for sure. Was that because of the line juggling? Was that because of the chance? Or was that just Pettersson flipping a switch?
Look, I think it's probably a combination of a variety of things. Some positive energy from the crowd. Definitely playing with higher skilled line mates, right? I mean, Elias Lindholm's had an unbelievable series here. Getting Niels Höglander back and having Höglander, I thought, played really well. Really stressed the Oilers out in terms of his down-low game in a way that, you know, we haven't seen much of in the playoffs, but which we saw all season long. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a lot that went into it for sure, and yet, you know, this is sort of part of the unpredictability of the playoffs, the improbable circus nature of some of these games that the Canucks are winning. The Canucks juggle their lines. The Vancouver market spends the entire day talking about Pettersson's new line mates and talking about, you know, the reunion of Garland, Joshua, and Bluger. And in fact, the line that turns the game is Podkolzin, Niels Amon, and Phil DiGiuseppe just absolutely flattening the Oilers. After about the first period where the Canucks were giving up just a ton of rush chances, because while the Canucks were the better team and really took over the game in the second, they were extremely sloppy in the first 12, especially with blue line turnovers that the Oilers kept converting into odd man rushes the other way. The Canucks were definitely fortunate to not be down 2-0 coming out of, the first 10 minutes, first 12 minutes of that game. And when the game flipped, I was legitimately sitting there with Kevin Woodley, and I was like, how many times has Evan Bouchard even been hit in this series, right? We started talking about why the Canucks aren't getting after Evan Bouchard. And then I swear in the second period alone, not only did Phil DiGiuseppe sort of tie the game off of an Evan Bouchard turnover, but I think he landed more hits on Evan Bouchard in that period than the Canucks had landed on him all series long. Given what Bouchard is able to do with time and space, that flipped the game. No word of a lie. 2 fourth-line goals for the Canucks, 2 goals with their fourth line on the ice. Phil DiGiuseppe looked like he'd body swapped with Connor McDavid at times, just absolutely flying out there with what JT Miller called his baby legs. Unbelievable, right? So we can talk about Pettersson, we can talk about the Bluger line, we can talk about Rick Tocchet shuffling the deck to great effect in Game 5, and yet here's the truth. That game turned because of Vancouver's fourth line, the line that we were, most surprised to see put together, and almost all of us would have believed, we would have bet the under on them playing 10 minutes. They flipped the game. They flipped this series on its head. That's playoff hockey.
Thomas, another item to talk about is the hits per game, and I think Vancouver has been way more physical than the Oilers. They are getting 14 to 19 hits from their blue line. Zadorov is causing them headaches. They don't have an answer for Zadorov physically. There's no way. Evander Kane's going to have nightmares of this guy, and then last night he's mocking him for whining about the officiating. I just think the Canucks are they're grinding the Oilers down. They're more physical. There's more hits. They're bigger. To me, that's been a big factor.
Yeah, it has. Well, shout out Tyler Myers too. I thought he had a tremendous game, and he was a force out there physically as well. And then he sort of curls in that entry pass. Tries to go high flip. He maybe doesn't get quite everything on it, but sets up the Canucks in zone for what turned into an iconic JT Miller game winner. Look, here's the honest truth, Rick. After every game the Canucks have won in this series, it's felt like team of destiny, right? And after every game the Oilers have won, it's like the Oilers have their number. They've figured it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Flip-flop.
That's how it felt after Game 1, after Game 2, after Game 3, after Game 4. And hey, that's how it feels today with the Oilers on the brink. Here's the truth about the playoffs, and JT Miller alluded to it in some of his post-game commentary. And we've seen it all series long. The momentum from one game doesn't appear to impact the momentum the next. It doesn't. It's a new game on Saturday. So the Canucks have gained the upper hand in the series. They've earned themselves 2 chances to eliminate the Oilers. But I would strongly caution against any Canucks fans, sort of reading into the result in Game 5, looking at how dominant the Canucks were on the forecheck, and suggesting stuff like the Canucks are in McDavid's head. McDavid just needs one moment to rip your heart out, right?
But he does have Thomas. McDavid only has 1 assist in his last 3 games, but you can't deny that fact.
Yeah, okay. I'm just telling you. At the end of the day, you've got to beat this guy 2 more times, and it's still Connor McDavid, Rick.
I don't think nobody is predicting a Canucks. No one's predicting that Canucks are going to easily win either Game 6 or 7. There's a long way to go here.
I know. No, I know. I'm just saying they're wearing them down physically or what have you. Just be careful, right? We know that teams that are up 3-2 at this stage of a playoff series win 79% of the time, but that's 21% that no Canucks fan wants to see or imagine today. There's work to be done here. And as well as the Canucks' big defense has played, as impactful as they've been, we've also seen them be vulnerable off the rush. We've seen McDavid take over Game 2. We've seen Draisaitl take over multiple games in this series. Game 6 is going to be an absolute knife fight. There's no way this Oilers team is going away quietly. As for the Evander Kane thing, man, he has had a quiet series, although he did open the scoring last night. He
scored last night,
Yeah, but he also got dropped down the lineup as the game went along, right?
Yep.
I mean, on the ranking of Oilers wingers that have been impactful in this series, he probably trails both Holloway and Zach Hyman at this point. They're going to need more from their depth players too, just like the Canucks sort of went into yesterday needing more from their depth players and got it in crucial moments.
Boy, you've said more positive things today than you have in the past 10 months or 2 years or 6 years. Keep it going.
That's not true.
That's true. That's true. Why isn't it true? You're one of the most negative guys in the market. You're being positive today. I'm telling you that.
There's lots of days where I come on here and I'm positive, and you always say something like that.
No.
Yeah.
If you look up if you look up the word negative in the dictionary, you will see a picture of Thomas Drance.
The power of positive thinking, right, Thomas? There's some book you got to read, or
see. I like to think if you look up negative in the dictionary, it'll be see realistic, and then you'll see my smiling face.
Perfect. Yeah. Outstanding.
Keep taking those positivity pills.
Thanks, Thomas. We will read your article over the weekend and listen to you on 650 today. Appreciate it.
Cheers, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.